You got to figure it out. All right, so let's start. The first part we're talking about learning today. Now, I'm going to read you a few definitions. The first one, the acquisition of information or a behavioral tendency that persists over a relatively long period of time. Does that sound good? It's too wordy. All right, let's try another one. To gain knowledge or understanding of or skill in by study, instruction, or investigation. That sound good. It sounded good? What does the word gain mean? Everything you learn have you gained? Not necessarily. Why not? If I learn it, okay, but there's a problem. That's not learning. See where's the problem? I've gained information that sometimes is temporary. Now, let's read this one. Learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior or behavior potential that occurs as a result of practice or experience. Does that sound good? That says permanent. The reason why, if you actually learn it, it is relatively permanent. Does that make sense? We use relatively because there's always something that can occur that makes you forget. But relatively, if you learn it, it is permanent. If you study for the exam today that you take tomorrow, have you actually learned anything? Some stuff, but most stuff you just cram it. So the stuff that you learn, I can ask you years later, you're like, oh, I know that. Compared to if I'm just cramming, it's gone. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? The difference in learning. Learning means I have a permanent knowledge of it. Change in behavior or the potential to change behavior. What's the difference? Change behavior or potential to change behavior. What's the difference? If I learn something, what makes it the difference? Give me something that you have learned that has changed your behavior. Foods. I've learned that these foods are not good, so I do not eat them. Manners. Something I've learned, so I make sure I don't do it. Now give me something you learned that has the potential to one day change your behavior. It could be literally something. Let's just use psychology for instance. Some of you are going into the medical field. Okay, there's some things you're going to learn in this class has no purpose for you right now, but you're going to get into that place with that patient that has this disorder, and you're going to be able to be like, oh my goodness, I remember when we talked about paranoid schizophrenia. I know now how I have to deal with this patient in an effort to keep us all safe. You learn something that has the potential to change your behavior. You're not going to use it now, but eventually you will. Does that make sense? Everybody get it? All right. Practice and experience. You learn through practice. Practice makes what? It is the truth. If you don't practice it, you don't learn it. But if you experience it significantly, it will be something you learn. There are certain things you learn just because you've experienced it. It was significant in your life. Give me something you learned just through experience. I hope you practice. I hope you practice driving. Parenting, very good one. Your first child, let's just use who are firstborn children. Okay, unfortunately, you are what are called guinea pigs. Okay, they practice on you. They literally tried to see, does this work? If it didn't work, on the second one, I'm going to try something different. I've learned based on just experiencing child birth, child raising. I don't really know. They don't have a handbook for this. I'm just going to learn through experience. Does that make sense? By the third one, I do things quite different because I've experienced this and learned if it works or not. Does that make sense? We always say that. The firstborn always says, if I had did that, because once they learned it didn't work, they changed it. Does that make sense? Because they learned it doesn't work. Some of you study. Say it again. Of course. What? Doesn't get better than the first one. which is usually the baby's attitude. And then as a firstborn, we have to tell them, like, no. Exactly. That's our job. Don't get it twisted. Where's your sister? Where's your sister at? You let your sister do that? Did you know where your sister is? It's like, seriously? I put her in the closet. When I let her out, we can talk. All right. I ain't learned to put my sister in the closet. I'm just saying. All right. The first type. Now, in this chapter, you're going to learn 4 different types of learning. Okay? If you don't understand the first one, stop me and say, Cherie, heck to the no, rewind, I don't get it. You don't have to use those words, but I don't get it. Don't let me go on. Do we agree? Introverted people, this is the chapter that just for a moment you're going to have to become extroverted. Just for a moment. Brief moment. Okay? And then you can introvert afterwards. Because this is the chapter. The first type we're going to talk about is classical conditioning. Now I'm going to tell you about it, but let's first see some examples. Sound of a dentist drill makes your head sweaty palms. Sight of a significant other makes you smile. Smell of a certain beverage makes you nauseated. And noise of a can opener makes a cat come running. Do we understand these things? Why does it happen? Why? So I've got association. Association. Give me another word. What do we got? Connection. Association. Connection. Coordinate. What else do we do? Correlation. Any other word? Connection. Correlation. Association. Assimilation. And we relate. Do we all understand that? That's what this idea of learning is. We've now associated, related, coordinated all these things to something. We all understand. Through experience or because somebody taught it to us. So what you'll learn is sometimes somebody taught it. Yeah, you just learn it from somebody else. Okay? Now, first I'm going to tell you about how it was all discovered. It was an accident. Ivan Pavlov actually did it by accident. What he did was he was actually researching digestion in dogs. He had these dogs hooked up to a machine. And what would happen is when the dogs would see the food, he would actually start to monitor salivation. He just wanted to see what happens in regards to digestion and food. But what started to happen is he had some interns that would actually bring the food down on a cart. And on the end of the cart was a bale. So what started to happen is the minute the dogs heard the bell, they started to salivate because they knew, oh my goodness, they're bringing down the food. Does that make sense? So no longer did they have to see the food. They just heard the bell and recognized the bell means what's coming. Food, so I should start getting ready. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that concept? You guys do that in your life now. There's something that you say, the minute you hear it, it represents this, you respond. Next class. Such as when your spouse's car door closes or opens in the car, you're like, they're coming in. Your mom comes home at 6 o'clock. You know the kitchen has to be clean. You looked at the clock, it's 4:45. Oh my. Let me start doing something. You've now correlated the two. You don't do anything. It doesn't mean anything to you. Does that make sense? My garage door opens. I can hear the dog doing this turtling thing he starts doing. Because he relates the door opening as she's about to come in. She's about to come in. And when I come in, he's doing these stupid things with himself. Okay? Does that make sense? You guys see timer on the clock on Angel. You all of a sudden get anxiety. You don't even know if I'm going to have 2 questions. It could be 90 minutes, 2 questions. The minute you see timer, you're like, oh my God, you classically conditioned. Angel classically conditions you guys. You have to log on and you're like, oh my God, test time. Oh my God. I haven't even opened up the test. Oh my goodness. Does that make sense? Good. So now the problem is they all have names. So the first thing we have was the bell. What did the bell bring? Food caused the dog to what? All right. We then had the bell, and the bell just brought and made the dog do what? Do we all agree? We all understand. Now here goes the titles. That's the part that we got to get to. Let's move to the titles. Now, the titles we have unconditioned stimulus. You can see it with US, but sometimes you'll see it UCS. Okay, so it could be either way. Unconditioned response, conditioned stimulus, and conditioned response. Okay, the key in regards to understanding these are unlearned. They're kind of automatic. And I'm going to use quote unquote, it's a reflex. It's just something you respond to. Nobody taught it to you. Nobody showed you it. It's just something that you respond to automatically. Do we understand that? This is a stimulus. It means something has caused this automatically. So give me some things that if it happened to you, you just automatically respond to them. Okay? Good question. I think that's, yeah, I think we kind of taught that, but say if I put pepper in front of your nose and you sneeze, automatic. Text message. You kind of learn, you kind of learned it, but let's just say the message makes you smile. So somebody says, I love you, you smile. That will be just a stimulus and a response. You smile back. Stimulus response. That's unconditioned stimulus. Everybody get it? Are we good? So the stimulus causes me to do what? I just respond. Do we all agree? Stimulus, respond. Stimulus, respond. Do we agree? I need some yes, we agree. No, I don't agree. Do yes, we agree? All right. Conditioned stimulus is a learned response, a learned stimulus. Correct. The smile back. Somebody smiles, you smile back. So smile, them smiling, you smiling. Smell food, stomach growls. Do we got it? Now, the conditioned stimulus, I now have learned to link this to the unconditioned stimulus. I've now linked the two. I have linked the conditioned stimulus to the unconditioned stimulus. So let's go back to Gina's idea. Say that we know somebody always smiles. We know this person that always smiles. It's just who they are. They always smiling. The minute I see them coming, what would I probably start to do? Smile, because I know when they get to me, they're going to smile. I've been conditioned. I don't even have to see, or somebody could be like, oh, she's coming down the hall. You already smile like, oh, here she coming. Before she even gets to you, you're already smiling. You've been conditioned. Does that make sense? And this conditioned stimulus now causes me to do what? To respond. Do we get it? Do we understand this? It's kind of like that. This kind of shows me this is about to happen. That's a good way of looking at it. This, I know it makes this happen, so I'm just going to respond to it. Correct. Now give me some examples of things in your life you have been classically conditioned with. There you go. My dad had the black belt one side, red belt on the other side. It was like a dual belt thing going on with a big yellow belt, gold belt buckle. Now, the minute my dad said, go get the belt, I started crying. I didn't even have to see it. He just had to say, go get it. The thought of it made me cry. If I seen it, it was even worse. Why? I had already felt the pain, made me cry. Now I link the sight of it, make me cry. Does that make sense? My dad doesn't call me Cherie. He calls me baby girl. That's just always been his name. Baby girl, baby girl. But when he calls me Cherie, I know I'm in trouble. So even to this day, at the age of 40, if he calls and he says, Cherie, I'll get all kind of like, What did I do? What did he hear I didn't did? Woo. And I'd be like, Dad. And he'd be like, what you doing? Nothing. Because I've been conditioned. Now, if he calls and he says, baby girl, I'll be like, hey, daddy, because I know we good. Does that make sense? Classically conditioned. You follow? If somebody says, I have to go take Madison's test, you're gonna think, you taking it, it made you feel, whatever it made you feel. So now you've associated my name with this test. The minute you hear the name, you get a feeling. I don't know. I don't even want to ask that question. Make sense? Literally because you've associated my name with the test. So some people literally, before you took, and I asked you on the first day of class, what have you heard about this class? Why? Because you've now associated what you heard with your expectation. So some of you, before you even took the test, you had already heard something about it. So you've already associated the test with fear. You've been conditioned. Yes. Now some of you will hear the word psychology and feel something. Does that make sense? Let's just say, what are you feeling? Be nice. When you in this class, unconditioned stimulus is your what? Let's just say the exam. What does exams make you feel? So now you associate exams with what? Nervousness. So now, what has to happen for you to think an exam is coming? There you go. 3 weeks pass. You've now been conditioned that every 3 weeks is an exam. So the minute somebody tells you, oh, we haven't had an exam in 3 weeks, you start to feel what? You've been conditioned. You don't even have to know the exam is there. You just know 3 weeks is over. Oh my goodness, it's coming. 3 chapters. Oh my God, it's coming. That's classically conditioned. Unconditioned will literally be the exam. It's just something that has caused you some type of if I spank you, that's an unconditioned stimulus. Just literally the spanking causes you. If I take you to the dentist, they drill your teeth, it's just unconditioned stimulus. It causes you pain. Correct. Yes. Correct. Because you've now created this association. You related the two. Yes? I know. That's what I was hoping you were asking. Because I'm about to give you one right here, and then you're going to figure it out. So happy you asked that. So, how we're going to do this, I'm going to show you an example. You're not going to say it out loud. You're going to try to figure it out. But there is a key that might help you in figuring all of this mess out. Not mess. First thing, you ask yourself, how did I respond? And I use I because when you make it personal, it makes it easier. So put yourself in examples. Okay, so the first thing you're going to say is, how did I respond? 2, what caused the response? 3, what did I replace the cause with? 4, how did I respond to the replacement? Okay? This will literally be the unconditioned response, the unconditioned stimulus, the conditioned stimulus, the conditioned response. And you're going to read question number 2. Don't answer it out loud. Just read. You can't see it? Is it blurry? sometimes. Um, just because this one you have to make sure I've learned that this is what it is. It wasn't an automatic thing. So yes, it can. Okay, so number two, I'm going to explain to you the best way to do these because you can see, just look at number three, it's very fluffy. These are very fluffy questions. So the best thing to do is when you read it, answer these four questions, then go back and find your answer. You would think it's going to take you a long time, but it doesn't. Okay, so look at number two, answer the questions, and then you can figure out the answer. But don't shout it out loud. So, number two, who says it's A? Who says it's B? Who says it's C? Who says it's D? All right, let's figure out what it is. What? How did he respond? What caused the seasickness? The who? What did he replace the boat with? What did he replace the rocking of the boat with? How does he respond to the sight of the boat? Now, the question was, what is the conditioned stimulus? I look at as number three. So number three would be the boat. Whatever works for you. Yeah, whatever works for you. Yeah, whatever works for you. Because it's going to get fluffier than that. Yeah, some people like it. This makes it simpler. Because the problem is, if you just read it like this and it gets really, really, like, if I take number three and I want you to tell me what is the unconditioned stimulus. Read number three and tell me what the unconditioned stimulus is. What's the unconditioned stimulus? All right, so let's find out. How did he respond? What caused the running? What did they replace the food with? How did she respond to the open air refrigerator? What's the unconditioned stimulus? Sometimes, but not all the time. Because say that I said in this, let's just use the idea that go to let's go to, he says that makes him seasick. Now when he sees a boat, he starts to cry. Now it just changed it in regards to the unconditioned stimulus was seasick. The conditioned stimulus is crying. The conditioned response is crying. So the words might change to where it might be different, but majority of the time it is the same. Are we good? It's none of those because I haven't taught you this part yet. But the unconditioned swimming pool bit is the food. Very much so. Got it? No, don't say that. Didn't I say don't say those curse words in this class? All right, are you good? Do you have those parts? That's not all the classical conditions, so do you have that part? Who doesn't have that part? All right, let's move to the next part. Now, in regards to classical conditioning, we've got some different components. The first one is avoidance learning. You guys have actually been classically conditioned to avoid certain things. Not because it has caused you any problems, but just because you've learned to avoid it. Give me something that you learned to avoid. Fire. What you got? Dog stream. Dark streets. Okay. Strangers. Stranger danger. Yes, we did. Bad storms. All of these things you've been classically conditioned. So let's just use in Detroit, we've been taught that there's certain streets that we know when we come up off the expressway, lock your doors, put your purse in the back seat, roll your windows down, and don't stop at the red light. Yeah, Rosa, please raise them up. Whew, please do. Now, we've learned these things. We just know what streets they are. So when we come up off the expressway, we see, oh my goodness, we're about to hit this street. We go into motion of just doing these things to avoid any problems. Just because you might be walking the rest of the way, oh, no, some streets, no. You coast so that you don't have to stop. As you come up, you move 20 so that you can make sure that when that light turns, you keep going. You learn these things very quickly. Or you're going to be walking and your car be driving away while you watch it driving away. You just learn these things. So we sometimes avoid going to that street. We will take the long way to avoid it. Does that make sense? Some of you avoid going to the dentist. You use Orajel. You just avoid having to go. You've been classically conditioned that they cause pain, so to not go, I'm just going to keep using this Orajel. Does that make sense? Do we all agree? Okay. Conditional emotion response. We're all going to go to a funeral tomorrow. What are we going to do at this funeral? Why? I didn't even tell you who was dying. It's sad. Why is it sad? Why are they sad? Somebody's dead. So I should be sad because they dead? Why? So why am I crying? So if I'm sitting at this funeral and people just start laughing, I'm going to laugh with them. Like, you're probably going to be like, these people crazy. Why? Because your idea is when people pass, oh, I should be hurt. It might be a good thing that they died. Technically, because if they were in pain, it might be finally they're not in pain any longer. But we've been conditioned to say funerals cry. If one of us fell down the stairs, God forbid, we walk outside and we just fall, boom, 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 boom. Okay? We're going to stand there and look to see two responses. If you laugh, we laughing with you. If you cry, we're going to be like, oh my God. We're going to try to hold the laugh in, but we're going to be like, oh my God, they hurt. Why? Because we've been conditioned that these are the ways you should respond. Does that make sense? I'm going to take it even further. You're 5 years old. All of the females, please raise your hand. All right. 5 years old, just learn how to ride your bike. You fell off. What happened? Okay, you wanted to quit, you cried. What happened? What did your parents do? They see training wheels. Some people ran. So what'd you tell this little girl? What should she do? Whenever she get hurt, she should do what? Because people going to come running to me if I cry. Now, all the fellas, please raise your hand. You're 5. You fell off of your bike. What your parents do? They didn't know. What'd they say? Get back up. If you cry, what'd they say to you? You better quit crying. I mean, man, don't be crying. You fall off, you get up. Man up. So what do we just teach this little boy to do? Holding that emotion, and if you ever feel like crying, you better not let one tear fall out because you're a man. We've been conditioned to say, the minute that we hurt as females, we just, oh, gee, oh, my God, it's horrible. Come see me. And we call all our friends, and they come running. It's okay. Let a man break up. Who is he calling? Probably another girl. That's exactly what he's doing. He's not calling his boys like, man, she left me. I can't believe she left me. Because his boys probably be like, for real? Yeah, like, you, and they be like, you crying? You, for real? You crying? Woo. Man, right, and if I call my sister crying, she'd be like, oh my God, no, he did not. Just leave you. Forget him. He ain't even worth it. Okay? Because we've been conditioned, we can do these things. That is how we've been conditioned as early as that. It's how you've learned. Our emotions are literally geared about how we've been conditioned. If you were rewarded, okay, how many of you seen a little kid in the grocery store? 4 years old, fell out. And mom just literally says, nothing. So another little kid sees, oh, he fell out. And mommy didn't do anything. Matter of fact, he got those cookies put in the basket. I think I'm going to try that. Because the condition is, I'm about to condition you, and you got a good point. My dad had a way of just doing this. And you knew, tuck it in, slop it in, grab your brothers, get them really close, and be in daddy's shadow at all times. Never had to say a word. He just had a look. We were conditioned. This look does not mean anything pleasant. We had a response, an emotional response. We might even get a little tear going when he did the look. Or he would just be like, when we get outside. The tear just classically conditioned. Does that make sense? Now, your phobias are also conditioned. We have a little story about Albert. Little Albert was a Watson experiment. He did experiments with kids. We didn't have, understand, back then, there was no defects and PETA. All of them people didn't exist. So little Albert was technically somebody. He was an infant. What he did was he put a white rat in front of little Albert and started banging stuff behind little Albert's head. Put the white rat in it, bang behind his head. Put the white rat, bang behind his head. What do you think little Albert eventually started to do when he saw the white rat? Cry. He literally realized, I've created a phobia by just creating this link or this association. You guys have done this a lot of times. How many of you fly? Airplane. I know y'all. If y'all had raised your hand on that, I'm about to be like, okay, we need to go talk. Because y'all need beyond psychology. Y'all need a psychologist. So how many of you fly in a plane? You were, that'll work. How many of you are afraid of flying? Okay. So who's afraid of flying? Okay. Who has flown? Okay. Now, how many people have you talked to when you said, are you afraid of flying? They like, oh yeah, I will not fly. And you like, why not? Because it's just planes go down. And you say, have you ever gotten on a plane? No. How do you know the plane? Because you literally have a phobia. Even further, 2 years old, you're outside playing with the little birds and the bees and the, I mean, not the, you probably did. That's the next chapter. You probably did do that at 2. But you were outside and they had all these little insects. They were your friends. You named them. They had houses. You picked them up. And you thought, I'm going to give this to my mommy. Because it's green. It's got a bunch of colors on its back. She's going to think this is pretty. And you picked it up and you gave it to her. And she said what? Ah! Stay off your hand. That's nasty. And you're like, oh, we're not supposed to like these things. So you're now 5. You see it again. What do? Ah, it's crazy. Oh my God. Why? Because you've been conditioned to be afraid of it. Does that make sense? A lot of your phobias I've done through classical conditioning. Somebody taught you them. Okay? Go ahead, Gina. Yeah, go ahead. No. So you can reach him. Okay, Gina would be using the idea of classical conditioning. Her idea is that if she tells somebody to do it, they'll do it. I've got a false sense of control. Classically conditioned. Does that make sense? Yeah. False. False. Yeah, it's a false sense of control. But we like control as people. We don't have control, but we like it. Yeah. We technically control nothing. And yeah, some of y'all are like, oh, yes, we do. No, you don't. There's always somebody who could take your control. You can make yourself think you do, but you have none. Hate to destroy your whole life, but it is the truth. All right. So we've got our phobia, conditioned emotion response. We'll talk about desensitization. We might as well say it. When you have a phobia, you have to desensitize a person against it, which means I have to introduce the phobia for you to get over the phobia. No, from the plane ride, you have more chances of dying in the car than you do in the plane. Yeah, you do. Okay, let's just use spiders. I mean, it's not a good example because we will not desensitize you from spiders. But let's just say heights. Okay, that's better. Heights. Who's afraid of heights? All right, good. If we were going to desensitize you, I would literally first say, I need you to get up on this step. It might be like 3 feet from the ground. How do you feel? Are you comfortable? All right, good. Get up on this. We're going to go a little bit higher. 6 feet. Okay. Once you feel good, we're going to go, okay, 9 feet. I'm desensitizing you to make you aware of what you feel so that you can get comfortable with it. So desensitizing really means facing your fears to get comfortable. When we get to, tell you what chapter is that? It's the intelligence IQ thing. IQ people always think is literally IQ means intelligence in regards to books. Intelligence really means what can you figure out. Does that make sense? Some of you are really intelligent, not because, and I'm gonna tell you there's a difference. Growing up, I live a very sheltered life, so I was book smart, street dumb. So the problem is that's not an intelligent person because eventually what's going to happen? You're going to have to be faced with some street. You're going to stop at the red light, like it's a red light. We stop, we yield at the appropriate time, and we wait. Okay? Matter of fact, it's a yellow light. It means to slow down and yield and prepare for the red light to approach. Now, that is the intellectual part. If I was street smart, I would be like, yellow light, push on the gas, my opportunity to get through. I am successful. Okay? This would got me robbed. This one might give me a ticket, but I am alive. Okay? So literally we talk about when we start doing, even in regards to young children, we literally tell you, let your child figure it out. Because if not, if you figure it out for them, they'll then start to only resort to what you taught them, not learn things for themselves. Yes. 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 Brilliant in regards to, yes. I had one of those too. She was my college roommate. She surprisingly, she didn't ever have to study. She was just brilliant. She got pregnant the second week we were at school. Her child just her child just graduated from high school last year. He is in her freshman year of college. Brilliant. Didn't do her any good because stupid when this individual approached her on the first day of the campus party. It was freshmen. We were when you were freshmen on a college campus. Yeah, you feel like what? Yeah, and they looking at like pray, 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 and they prayed on her, and they were like, "Oh, this your first year here?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I'm gonna take you out to dinner." She said, "Okay." No. Why are you taking me to dinner? Was my response. I'm like, "Oh, don't go to dinner with him." And she was like, "He won't pay for me to go to." I don't care. Call your mama. She will send you some dinner money. Don't do it. And she's like, "No, I'm gonna go." And I don't even know what happened between dinner. I know, but I don't know. All I'm gonna say is 9 months later, she was in the delivery room, and I remember when they told her she was pregnant, I cried, and she was like, "It's gonna be okay." I'm like, "Your life is over." Oh, it's just a flashback. Ooh, moments. Uh, being in a delivery room where I was there when she delivered. I accidentally got to the wrong end. They was going so fast that it happened within 3 minutes. She delivered, literally 3 minutes. She was like, "Oh my God, it hurt," and she pushed. But unfortunately, I was down here when she pushed, and I was like, oh. I was 19, head crowning, everything. I now have vicarious classical conditioning. I saw it and was like, this is the best birth control method in the world. I am now 40, still have not had a child because of my trauma at 19. I learned when she was like, "Oh my God, this hurt." And I just saw, and when I tell you it stretched like, and it was like, whew. That's how I felt it looked to me. Like, whew. And I was like, "Oh, heck nah. Don't touch me. Don't breathe on me. Don't call my name." Why? Vicarious classical conditioning. That looked like it hurt. I have not experienced it. I just know it looked like it hurt. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm sure it do. My mother's like, "That was a good experience for you to be in there." I bet it was. Okay, when she screamed the first time, I'm like, you crazy. Vicarious cognition, you learn through watching someone else. Good question. The only thing here is this is a fear. This one, I just learned I'm not doing that. I'm not scared of it. Well, yeah, that I am. But I might just be like, I'm not doing that. If that's how you end up, I don't want that. If you want birth control method, watch Delivery. Yeah. No. There's some other things. Your sister or brother or sister got on punishment for doing something. You were just like, won't be doing that. Vicarious classification. I didn't have to learn it. I just watched it happen. I'm good. I watched my brother get in trouble. I knew I didn't have to get in trouble. I got a spanking 3 times my entire life. My brother got one 3 every day. I just learned this probably wouldn't be a good thing to do. I won't be doing it. Everybody doesn't learn. Because sometimes, what did the first thing say you had to do? How do I learn? You're just making up definitions. How do I learn? Through what? Experience and experience and practice. So some people just have to practice. So getting spankings is practice. They, they have to learn the hard way. Understand. Jail sometimes is a comfort place. Yes. 90% of people who, yes, 90% of people who go to prison, not jail, one time will repeat their jail sentence simply because it's comforting. I know when to get up. I know I always eat. I have a place to stay, and my associates are there. I got friends, food, and a place. And I got structure. Outside, what do I have? Hustle, grind. Maybe I'll get it, maybe I don't. It's still comforting. I know it. Once I get into prison and I learn it, I'm good. If you ever go into prison and you see some people, they're good because they learned the system. They've got all of the, technically, they got cell phones in prison right now. My boyfriend has a cousin in prison. I don't know how he keep calling, but he keep calling and he keep telling him, send me some money on my card. Send me some money on a card. I'm like, who gives you cell phones in prison? I got another one. He sent me a Facebook request. I said, who got Facebook in prison? And why you got it? You were in prison for attempted murder. Why aren't you allowed to use Facebook? But it's prison. Prison literally is a business. Um, it's privately owned now. So unfortunately, because it's privately owned, it's an investment. They build prisons based on third grade test scores. Privately owned. Even when it says state, they changed it, I think, about 5 years ago, that they all became a private institution. Hmm. Good question. I don't know. I'm sure you could find out with some research, but there are companies that own all your state prisons. Your tax money funds inside because they're grant funded programs. So I can open a prison, grant funded through the tax dollars, but I own the prison. Exactly. Because all I have to do is make sure my budget says that I am this, and I get paid for the services. You give me the grant funding, I take the money, but you fund the prisoners through state dollars. I didn't say our judicial system is a little on the messed up side. All right, so do you have classical conditioning? That part. Because now I'm going to teach you the next part of it. Yes? Good. Now you're about to learn the principles. Now, with the principles, I'm going to read you the definition that is literally here, but then I'll explain it to where you can hopefully understand it. All right, so we start with acquisition. Acquisition, formation of a new CR, which is a conditioned response tendency. This means that when an organism learns something new, it has been acquired. Does that make sense? Just mean you learn it. It just literally means something has happened that now you've acquired this new response. Good. You get sick after eating Taco Bell. You've acquired a new response. Does that make sense? Are we good? Yes, no? I need heads. This is sign language day. Yes. Acquisition. Got it? Sign language day. Yes? All right. Extinction. Now, read the definition. This is a gradual weakening and eventually disappearance of the conditioned response tendency. Does that make sense? Let's talk. We've got a, we're in love, and we got a song. Give me a song. All right. Wouldn't it be nice as our song? Who was, this was your song with who? Just make up a name, an alias. Okay. So let's make you in love with somebody. Give him a name. Adam always works. All right. So Adam, quote unquote. Every time I hear this song, I think of Adam. I hear the song, Adam. I hear the song, Adam. I don't even have to see Adam. I just hear the song, and I picture the whole relationship, and I smile. It's wonderful. Ooh, lovely. Then Adam cheated on me, and we dumped Adam. No, we still hear it. We even might even get acquisition. I hear the song, I cry. I hear the song, I curse. I hear the song, I break stuff. I still hear the song and respond. But eventually, it's been 10 years since I've been with Adam. Now I hear the song and nothing happens. I don't think nothing because now extinction has occurred. It has nothing. It's just a song now. It has no feeling. It has no response. It no longer causes me anything. It once did, but now it doesn't. It's extinct. Does that make sense? What the word says is really what it means. Yes. Extinction. Or you hear his name and it's just like, whatever. That's extinction. But every once in a while, you have what is called spontaneous recovery. You hear the song and you laugh. And you be like, oh, Adam. Okay? It pops back in for a brief moment. Spontaneous recovery, it pops back in for a brief moment. The stimulus gives you a response for a brief moment. It's just a memory. Correct. It comes back. It's literally like, and that's a good question. It's kind of like it's unconscious, and I'm not going to say unconscious. It's probably pre-subconscious, to where we'll talk about the layers. It's pretty pre-subconscious, and this is a trigger. So every once in a while, exactly. It's just kind of like snapshot. We call it flashbulb memory. It's just kind of like gone, and you might laugh. You might feel a little emotional. All of you have a grandmother, grandfather, or somebody, and it's some kind of smell. You smell it all the time, but it does nothing for you. But every once in a while, when you smell it, you like grandma's cookies, and it's just like that flash bulb, and then it's gone. A smell of a person that you like, you smell it all the time, means nothing. But every once in a while, when you smell it, you like, oh my gosh, it's that flash bulb memory. It's an extinction. But every once in a while, you look at that magnet on the refrigerator, and you be like, oh my God, Jamaica. Jamaica. That's spontaneous recovery. Then you walk by and it's just a magnet again. Perfect example. Good. Sign language day. All right. Stimulus generalization. Now, stimulus generalization is a little bit different. Stimulus generalization is when I now generalize. Who sings this song? Okay. I generalize and say all Beach Boy songs give me this feeling. So I generalize the one stimulus over an entire group. I generalize this one feeling over the entire group. Let's just say I say McDonald's makes me sick. And you say, Sheree, do you like McDonald's? No, I hate fast food. What I've just done was stimulus generalization. I literally stimulated and generalized my whole idea that fast food was all like McDonald's over a whole category. People do this also with race. Stimulus generalization. It's like this group, nope, it's just the whole group. Perfect example. Yes. Perfect example. All guys are dogs. All guys are stupid. Generalization. It was that one, but you just like, I generalized over the whole group. One rotten apple spoils the bunch. That's stimulus generalization. Got it? Now, it's a little bit different. It's the stimulus discrimination. Stimulus discrimination, I usually specify one in regards to its dominance. I specify one stimulus in regards to its dominance. The best example for this, when I got Max 7 years ago, Max is my dog. I brought him in here and I want everybody to play with him. Everybody starts calling Max. Where's Max gonna go? I just got him. Everybody's like, Max, Max, Max. He going everywhere. He just like, oh, everybody's calling me. He's now 7. We've been together 7 years. I bring Max to class now and everybody calls him, and then I call him. Who is he coming to? He's coming to me. He's now has stimulus discrimination. He's now made a specific person his dominant. This stimulates me the most. Specializing in one, and I would probably use it more like placing one stimulus over the others. Let's use that. Placing one stimulus over the other. If I said McDonald's makes me sick, but that 109.85, I start to vomit. I literally tell you the worst one is that one right there. They all are bad, but that one right there causes me to be sick. Experience. Practice. Let's go for example. I hate school. What is that? Discrimination, generalization. What is it? Generalization. I really hate physical education. Discrimination. I really hate physical education. I'm nailing down to say it's not school. I hate school, but it's that one class that makes me hate it all. Yep. You go say I hate school, but that school right there, I hate the most. That's when I start to do stimulus discrimination. I generalize, but then I'm going to discriminate. Everybody got it? Yes? All right. Higher order conditioning. I'll read the example. A conditioned stimulus can be used to produce a response from another neutral stimulus. Make sense? A conditioned stimulus can be used to produce a response from another neutral stimulus. Sorta. It's another stimulus connecting to a different stimulus. So, Max keeps his treats are in a green container. I know he's colorblind, but let's just say he sees this color. The green container. His treats are inside the green container. The treats are his what? What kind of stimulus? The treats are the unconditioned stimulus. The container is now the what? Conditioned stimulus. When he gets his treats, he sits down. So now when he sees the container, he does what? He sits down. I now put the container in a cabinet. Now when Max sees the cabinet or me going to the cabinet, he does what? He sits down because he relates that the cabinet represents the container that represents the treats. He now has a higher order. He has now created a stimulus for the stimulus that created the unconditioned stimulus. Huh? The unconditioned stimulus is in the conditioned stimulus. He now has created a conditioned stimulus for the conditioned stimulus. He's associated this with this, then this with this. That's higher order. That's higher order. Uh-huh. She's got higher order. The walk now represents the cabinet, which represents the treat. Originally, it was just the cabinet and the treat, but then she started realizing, like, oh, when she walks, she might go to the cabinet, which then opens up the treats, and I get it. So I'm gonna respond to her walking before she even gets to the cabinet. Correct. Correct. That's all it is. You gonna understand that when you see it? Okay, that doesn't sound good then. Gina, I'm gonna make it even. Sex always works for people. Okay. Um, That's what I'm gonna make you. This is gonna make you remember. As soon as I think of it. All right. You play music, he gets sex. What's the unconditioned stimulus? Sex. Sex brings about what response? It's good sex. Okay. Yo, good sex brings about orgasm. They now relate good sex to music. Music, I hear that song. I know good sex is coming because that's the song that he do good sex on. Orgasm. So he played a song. I'm already like, it's about to be good sex night. Okay? I've been classically conditioned. Now I know the CD. No. What? We gotta go get a new CD. No. I know that CD that he plays is in the red case. It's the only CD in the red case. I now, when he go pick up the red case, I get excited. He didn't even have to put the music on because I recognize the red case represented that one song that the good sex comes on. So I respond. If he just pick up the red, he just do this, and I'm like, oh, God, and he'd be like, I'm cleaning up, babe. I'd be like, no, because I've been higher order. Yeah, he mixed it all up. I'd be all discombobulated. Yes. Now you get it? Told you we would. Sometimes you just have to go to the basic needs of life. Because it's a basic need of life. Yeah. Food, water, shelter, air, and sex are your basic needs of life. So I could use food the same way. Yeah. Yeah. If I said water, I could use the same. Air. Yeah. Take away your air, watch me be able to classically condition you to do anything. I put a pillow over your face. You've been classically conditioned that this pillow will suffocate me. So now when I just pick up the pillow, you be like, don't suffocate me. I'm changing pillowcases. You've been classically conditioned. Make sense? Your mother cooks dinner. You are correct. Correct. Or your mom keeps this one big skillet pan, the black one, the old fashioned, what's those called? The iron skillet one that makes the best cornbread. All right, it's in the bottom drawer underneath the cabinet. It's just really special. She keeps it only in there. You know, every time you see the cabinet, the skillet is representing the cornbread. So the minute she pulls out the skillet, you're like, oh, good, cornbread. But one day you see her going to the cabinet, you already think we're about to have cornbread. Even if she doesn't pull out the skillet because you've now done higher order. I do too now. You associate. I associate this to this. I've associated this with this, now I associate this with this. That's all it is. We go back to that association and relating. Good. That was the end of classical conditioning. You have 4 more that you'll be learning. Yes. So, yeah, 4 more. Yeah, 4 more including that one. Latent, observational, and operant. Yes. So we're going to stop here for classical, operant, observational, latent. 4. That was all classical. Classical's done. You have mastered classical conditioning. Yes. We wait. Say that one more time.